UAW announced a tentative agreement at Daimler Trucks, where 7,000 workers across the South work. The union announced a minimum of a 25% wage increase, profit sharing, and an end to tiers.
Let's get to what workers in the U.S. South and the American colonies were up to for the last 2 weeks, from April 12th to April 26. In new union campaigns, 4 workers at Jones Lang LaSalle in Miami, Florida, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Union of Operating Engineers, IUOE, Local 30F. The employer filed a petition for a union election after a majority of the 5 workers at Spire, Alabama, in Wetumpka, Alabama, demonstrated support for unionization with the United Association of Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, and Steam Fitters, UA, Local 548. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify the Communication Workers of America, CWA, Local 3603, as the union representing 62 workers at Transcontinental Matthews in Matthews, North Carolina. 54 security guards at Akima Global Services in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Programa de Solidaridad, UTIER. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 134 workers at Union Tank Car Company demonstrated support for unionization with the Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union, SMART. 50 workers at MNG 2005 in St. Louis, Missouri, filed a petition to hold a union election with the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW, Local 655. 1 worker at Keolis in Dania Beach, Florida, is seeking to be added to the already represented bargaining unit represented by Teamsters, Local 769. 85 workers at Polyethylene Containers in El Dorado, Arkansas, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Plastic Workers Union, Local 18. 90 workers at 10 Roads Express in Greensboro, North Carolina, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Teamsters, Local 391. 43 workers at Trap Rock and Granite Quarries in Ironton, Missouri, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Laborers International Union of North America, LIUNA, Local 829. 10 workers at Impresas Steward Cementerios in Bayaman, Puerto Rico, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Union de Trunquistas in de Puerto Rico, the Trunks Union, Local 901. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 45 workers at Rose Brooks Center in Kansas City, Missouri, demonstrated support for unionization with the LIUNA, Local 955. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 28 workers at Barnes & Noble in Austin, Texas, demonstrated support for unionization with UFCW Local 455. 39 security guards at Defense Contracting Activity in Durham, North Carolina, filed a petition to hold a union election with the RTP Security Guards Association, but the petition was withdrawn. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify Workers United as the union representing 61 workers at Emporia Rehabilitation and Healthcare Center in Emporia, Virginia. 34 workers at Wydown Coffee in Washington, D.C. filed a petition to hold a union election with Workers United, but the petition was later withdrawn. 9 workers at Corson Fire and Security in Louisville, Kentucky, filed a petition to hold a union election with UA Local 669. 70 workers at Mikey Co. in Boynton Beach, Florida, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees, IATSE. 22 workers at Sightline Media Group in Arlington, Virginia, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Washington Baltimore News Guild, CWA, Local 32035. In campaign updates, the union election at Mercedes in Alabama has been scheduled for May 13th to 17th. In election results, in a huge win, 4,326 workers at Volkswagen in Chattanooga, Tennessee, voted 2,628 to 985 in favor of unionization with the United Auto Workers. That's 73% in favor. In what is probably a first, U.S. President Joe Biden congratulated the workers within hours, and Tennessee Governor Bill Lee said the workers made a mistake. The International Association of Firefighters disclaimed interest in a decertification petition filed for 12 firefighters at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, meaning the previously represented unit is decertified.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
102 workers, undergraduate resident assistants at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. voted 79-3 in favor of unionization with the Office and Professional Employees International Union, OPEIU Local 153. 16 workers at Starbucks in Springfield, Virginia voted 14-0 in favor of unionization with Starbucks Workers United. 77 workers at Transdev Services in Houston, Texas voted 48-6 in favor of unionization with Teamsters Local 988. 8 workers at Wells Fargo in Apex, North Carolina voted 6-2 in favor of unionization with Wells Fargo Workers United, CWA, as did 6 Wells Fargo workers in Cedar Hill, Texas. But 10 workers at Wells Fargo in Bellevue, Florida voted 4-4 in an election to unionize with Wells Fargo Workers United, CWA, and ties go to the company. 6 workers at Second Chance Animal Rescue in Norman, Oklahoma voted unanimously 6-0 in favor of unionization with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME. 96 workers at Flight Safety International in Savannah, Georgia voted 14-69 against unionization with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, IAMAW. 8 workers at West Rock in Nashville, Tennessee voted 4-4 in a decertification election with the Teamsters Local 327, and ties go to the company. 5 workers at Herzog Transit Services in Irving, Texas voted 4-0 in favor of unionization with the American Train Dispatchers Association. 21 workers at Luke and Associates in Beaufort, South Carolina voted 10-5 in favor of unionization with IUOE Local 465. 2 workers at the Cesar Chavez Foundation voted 0-2 against unionization with the Lone Star Labor Education. 8 workers at Riverside Theater in Vero Beach, Florida voted 6-2 in favor of unionization with IATSE Local 500. 26 workers in Southeastern Paper Group in College Park, Georgia voted 13-13 in a union election with Teamsters Local 528, and ties go to the company. 74 workers at San Antonio Express News in San Antonio, Texas voted 31-36 against unionization with the Media Guild of the West. And finally, 22 workers at Ready Refresh in Davenport, Florida voted 10-10 in a union election with the Teamsters Local 79, and ties go to the employer. In settlements, grievances, and unfair labor practices, when 80 drivers at United Natural Foods Incorporated, UNFI, in Florida decided to unionize with Teamsters Local 79, the company attempted to outsource those jobs to another non-union employer, J.B. Hunt. The NLRB last week found this to be an illegal move to kill the union campaign and refused to accept the plan to outsource jobs and ordered an election to be held on May the 4th and 5th. In strikes and bargaining updates, CWA workers at AT&T Southeast went on strike for the first time in 30 years back in 2019. The contract they secured after that strike expires this August, and CWA District 3 is laying the groundwork for another strike if necessary. The UAW reached a deal with GM Aramark, the sanitation department at GM, with raises of up to 43% over the 3-year deal, and a cut in the progression from several years to just 90 days. Members still have to ratify the deal. The UAW also announced a tentative agreement subject to membership ratification at Daimler Trucks, where 7,000 workers across the South work. In the agreement, the union announced a minimum of a 25% wage increase, profit sharing, and an end to tiers. Nurses across the South, organized with National Nurses United, are holding rallies as they negotiate contracts with the Hospital Corporation of America in El Paso, Texas, Asheville, North Carolina, and more. In politics and legislation, the North Alabama Building Trades Unions endorsed President Joe Biden for a second term. DeSantis signed a second law to reduce child labor regulations in Florida. This one allows more 16 and 17-year-olds on construction sites. DeSantis also signed into law a bill that would ban municipalities from having worker heat protection ordinances almost exactly 1 year after the heat death of a 24-year-old worker, Gabriel Infante, who died in his first week on the job in 2023. The EEOC released its final rule on the implementation of the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. which will add pregnancy as a condition for which employers must provide reasonable accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Civil Rights Act. The Mine Safety and Health Administration issued a final rule on silica exposure for coal miners, bringing the exposure limit in line with other professions. The Department of Labor finalized a rule expanding overtime protections for all workers who make $43,000 or less, which will increase to $58,000 on January the 1st. This will amount to more take-home pay for an estimated 3 million workers.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.